Hi everyone, welcome to Dean's Chat, where we discuss all things podiatric medicine. My name is Dr. Jeffrey Jensen, the Dean at the Arizona College of Podiatric Medicine and the host of the Dean's Chat podcast. Our show today has two objectives. Number one, we're going to highlight the surgical residency program at Ascension St. Vincent Hospital in Indianapolis, Indiana. But before we do that, we're going to highlight the careers of three graduating third-year residents. We're not only going to talk about their educational journey, but we're going to find out about their employment plans coming up in July and the job search that everybody is so interested in. So at this time, I'd like to introduce our guests. Dr. Marc Alvarez is a 2020 graduate of the Arizona College of Podiatric Medicine. Welcome, Marc. Dr. Tyler Sten is a 2020 graduate of the Des Moines University College of Podiatric Medicine. Welcome, Tyler. And Dr. Dustin Theis is a 2020 graduate of the Arizona College of Podiatric Medicine. Welcome, Dustin. Welcome to all of you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
You're welcome. So in keeping with the Dean's Chat, this might seem kind of odd, but we go with first names, right? It's kind of the fireside chat theme. So let's just go with Dustin and Marc and Tyler and Jeff, if that's all right with all of you. All right, well, to kick it off for our listeners, I think it's important that we define the pathway of podiatric medicine. What's it like for a student to go from college to being in your shoes where you're about to graduate from a 3-year residency program? Dustin, would you mind sharing that journey for our audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically the kind of journey starts as, you have to go to college, go to podiatric, school, and then go on to residency. And it's a 4-4-3 setup. So I went into undergraduate at Boise State, did my 4 years there. You get your undergraduate degree, and sciences help because it's, a lot of the prerequisites line up with that degree. You get your undergraduate degree and you take your MCAT. You have to take the MCAT in order to be able to apply as well. Once you get your degree and you take your MCATs and you have a good enough score, you apply to podiatric medicine school. If you get accepted, I think there's 10, might be 11 now in the country that you can apply to. You get to kind of find out where you want to go and go through that whole application process. Then once you get accepted, it is another 4 years of school. The first 2 years are, your didactics, pretty academic intensive for 2 years. A lot of our teachers said you're kind of drinking out of a fire hose or a fire hydrant. So after those 2 years, then you have your clinical rotations. It's a little bit different per school. I can only speak for ASPOD, where the third year was, more rotations in the state of Arizona. And then come February, you start your kind of clerkships. And then, from February through December, for me, you're on your clerkships around the country where you kind of select the residencies that you want to go clerk at. And then you also have your core rotations that you also select and finish up those kind of other, specialty rotations to get kind of more diversity in your medical training. And then after that, usually you do your interviews in January. You get to go through finding the residency you want to go to, and then you go through match. Match is stressful, but hopefully you can go and get your rankings and your kind of the way you want to go and where you want to go, hopefully. And then once you get matched, then you go to wherever your residency is, and you have 3 years to do that. Some people also can add a fellowship on after their 3 years residency. Fellowships are not required. However, some people feel the need that if they want to go into heavy reconstruction, limb salvage, or feel that they just kind of want another year to kind of train and be under somebody that's, a really good surgeon, that is another option. So that's kind of basically it. Marc and Tyler, if you have anything to add to that, feel free.
Now that hits the nail on the head. It's 4 years of undergrad, heavy in sciences, 4 years of podiatric medical school or college, and then the 3-year surgical training program. And you're done, right? You all graduated last week.
Yeah, not that diploma.
Wow, congratulations. I also wanted to make note that you can see in the background, devoid of furniture, pictures, Dustin, Marc, and Tyler are all going to be hitting the road for their new jobs, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But before we get to that, I'd love to find out about your podiatric journey. How'd you find out about podiatric medicine? Did you shadow other doctors? And what led to you, Tyler, for example, going to the Des Moines University College of Podiatric Medicine? If I could ask each of you that question first, let's do that. Tyler, would you like to go first?
Sure. Thanks, Jeff. So I had always planned on medicine as my route since I think seventh grade was when I think I made the decision I wanted to be a surgeon of some sort. I didn't know what, but I knew I wanted to be a surgeon. So from undergrad, I did undergrad in 3 years. I came in with some pretty heavy credits, so I graduated in 3 years. And that gave me some time to kind of figure out what I wanted to do. I was in the workforce. I was working in clinical research, and I was looking at all the different MD and DO schools available. I had no idea. I obviously knew podiatry was a specialty, but I didn't know it was its own separate schooling. So while looking at Des Moines University for their DO school, I saw this, College of Podiatric Medicine and Surgery. Word surgery tipped me off. I was like, that's cool. I wonder if they have like a residency associated with this college. And then, sure enough, found out that there was at that time 9 schools. So at that point, I went and shadowed a local doctor in Kansas City, where I'm from, and just had like a really great day at a very routine, some would call it a boring day. But one of my good buddies' dad's a general surgeon. He said, if you find something, the routine stuff is enjoyable to you, that's the sect of medicine to go into. So I thought that was just like a great day, and shadowed more and kind of fell in love with it, and then applied from there that next cycle.
That's interesting you mentioned that, because no matter what your specialty is, you've got your bread and butter procedures, your things that you do every day many, many times. And podiatric medicine is no different. So that's fabulous, Tyler. And so you went to the Des Moines University College of Podiatric Medicine, and then went through the match process, and then ended up in Indianapolis. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Marc, let's touch base on your story. How did your journey start?
So actually, ironically enough, it's a little different than Tyler's. I think it's kind of unique because when you meet your classmates in school, everyone gets to this part, by so many different paths. So I actually started undergrad as a music major. So I was kind of convinced this was my path originally for about 2 years. Then I kind of took a step back from school because it just wasn't kind of working out. I started working at my mom's company, and she's in pharmaceutical research, so kind of medicine-based. My uncle actually is an orthopod in Miami, Florida, so I kind of would spend time with him, sometimes just checking out his profession. And he was kind of gracious enough to open my eyes to the field of podiatry and put me in touch with a local guy in Miami. I had the chance to go shadow him, which was awesome. And I, like Tyler, I found it to be such a unique profession, and he kind of gave me, it was good. He sat me down and really showed me how to get from point A to point B. And for me, it kind of fit my lifestyle. I think surgery was a big part of what I wanted to do, not just see patients in clinic, but, podiatry does offer this unique opportunity to do both. So yeah, that's kind of how I got there. And then as far as choosing Arizona, being from Miami, Barry is right down the street. However, doing my undergrad in Florida, I kind of wanted to switch it up. So I went to New York first. And then honestly, when I was done with my interview with Arizona, I kind of fell in love with the campus, the weather, being from Miami, different heat, but still okay. I'll take any heat over, winter in Indianapolis. So it was kind of a unique path, but like I said, we all have different paths, but we all get to this point. So it's awesome. Yep.
So when you shifted gears from music, what did you end up getting your undergrad in then?
So I actually did a whole 360 switch. So I got a biology degree. So that's why I was a little behind, in school, because I started from 2 years of music, which has no, obviously no chemistry or biology. So it took me an extra about 3.5 years. But so I graduated with a biology degree. Very
good. A lot of musicians make great surgeons. It's that hand-brain connection. So that's awesome. What a great story.
Thank you.
Dustin, what was your path into podiatric medicine?
Yeah, so kind of like Tyler, at a very young age, I was interested in medicine. I liked the idea of working with your hands, and I knew I was, wanting to do surgery. I got injured, and, had to have, knee surgery, and that really sparked my interest. I shadowed an orthopedic surgeon and, kind of, really liked the surgery side of it, but he kind of was like, I don't know if I'd do this again kind of deal if I were to really go through it again. And so I was like, that's interesting, and kept going through school, but being like, that's what I want to do. And I got done with undergrad, and I was kind of at this crossroads of, do I apply to MD, DO? And I wasn't sure, because I wasn't really sold on the whole MD path, because, and it's interesting, our director, Dr. here, is writing an article about this that'll come out, and everyone should give it a read, is that just because you want to go into orthopedics doesn't mean you're going to get into orthopedics. There's I think he quoted 17,000 MASH applicants and only 800 ortho residencies. And so that really kind of, didn't sit well with me. And I was sitting there thinking, and then, I randomly got turned on to podiatry. I believe it was an email, to be honest. I don't know who got my email or how it was sent. And I looked at it and I was like, interesting, this is surgery. This is going right into your profession. And it's, not this gamble of not being able to do surgery. And so I shadowed a podiatrist in Boise, Idaho, where I was doing my undergrad, and he just was so enthusiastic about it, and he loved going to work. And he was just like, I love that I can do so many different avenues of medicine, and I can do surgery, I can do clinic, I can, do wound care, I can do geriatric care. Like, kind of just, was like, wow, this is somebody who's really excited about their profession and really enjoyed, sharing that with me. And then I looked into it more, and it's 4 years of school and then 3 years of residency. So, you're not doing these 6-7 years of residency, and I was like, well, let's give it a shot. And I applied to a couple schools. I really liked, the ASPOD perspective. That's kind of why I went there, is that they're integrated with the DOs, and then looking at board scores, they're really high up. And so that was important for me, because I wanted to know that, I'm going somewhere where I'm going to get good education, and then I'm going to have a great kind of background to be able to pass all these exams and kind of keep moving forward. So that's kind of how I got into ASPOD. And I remember I actually applied a little late, got waitlisted, and then I was like, if I decide I really want to come here, if I, waitlist and go into the next cycle, will I get in? And they're like, absolutely, you're a good candidate, just reapply, and it should be a sure thing. So that was kind of how I got into ASPOD.
Fantastic. And it's a small class, right? I mean, and also Des Moines is a smaller class, so they fill up quickly. So that's interesting. I wanted your comments on the shadowing experience. I always maintain that the reason that when prospective students go visit a podiatrist is because most podiatrists kind of shape their practice to what they like to do, so they're naturally happy doing it. And I see that over and over. Whenever someone shadows, podiatrists enjoy their work and they're happy doing it. And that sounds like it was the experience you all had.
That's very true. I think that's a point to talk about that Dustin mentioned, is that a big part of it was the assuredness of it. I was definitely worried about, I knew a big portion of what I wanted to do. We keep saying surgery, but there's so much more to our profession than surgery. But there's definitely knowing what you're going to be doing at the end of the finish line, right? Going into a general medicine program, you have that risk of, if you know you're not going to be happy in family medicine, you may end up there. And that's a tough place to be for an entire career. So knowing what to expect at the end of it is pretty valuable in my mind.
Well said. Very well said.
And a lot of debt.
Hey, you've got a career that's going to span 30 years. You better like what you're doing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Very true.
So I wanted to just talk about you, all three of you, landing at Ascension at St. Vincent's, and all of you graduated during the year of COVID. So that was a challenge. But how, this is a very highly desirable program. Dr. Theis is one of the top doctors in the country. Did all three of you do clerkships at Ascension St. Vincent? Yeah. Okay. Can you talk about your fourth year a little bit? Because it's a common theme that you're probably going to match at a program where you did a month, because everybody knows each other. Your thoughts on that, Marc?
Okay. So for me, kind of going into fourth year in Arizona, when I was structuring where I was going to go, I did take into consideration a lot what my upper years had told me about different programs. And I think putting this one in was just because of that. I know a couple, I think 3 or 4 of the upper years went to St. Vincent and said, hey, it was a good experience. The city's, nice. I think, people don't really hear about Indianapolis too much, but it is a really, really great city to live in. I didn't really have any strategy as far as it being a location-based thing, because I'm from Florida, obviously. I actually surprisingly didn't do too many Florida programs. I did 2. So I was kind of all over the map. I was in Chicago, had a couple programs, went to St. Vincent, then I was in Philadelphia. I did do several programs back in Florida. So 4th year was kind of a stressful time. And I know when students rotated here at St. Vincent, that's something I would always let them almost vent to me about, because it is stressful, and it's the money that you're spending, time away from family, when students, are married or have kids. And yeah, there's a lot going on, especially getting closer to interviews. So for me, it was a different journey. It wasn't really strategic. It was just more relying off of where people had gone and picking places through that.
So on match day, were you surprised to match there?
At St. Vincent?
Yeah.
Yes. In a way, honestly speaking, it's true. And I have no issue saying it. When we, every program, and I do tell students, I'm very honest with them, I wasn't in the top 4, and I think being honest with students about that is it happens, sometimes you're not, but hey, I was real close. And I think that's why it's very important to definitely rank where you want to be. Don't listen to outside noise. Now that students are going back to the crit process in the hotel, you hear a lot, right? Oh, this program put me this. And it's very important to, keep focused and rank where you want to be. Because for me, for example, it worked out great.
That's words of wisdom. That's exactly what we tell the students. If you don't want to go there, don't rank them, right? Yeah,
for sure.
And if you do want to go somewhere, just rank where you want to be, and then let the chips fall. Very good. Tyler, what was your experience, your path to Indianapolis?
So I rotated here relatively early. I knew I kind of wanted to front load with a couple heavy hitters, if you will, to kind of just get my feet wet. But I kind of focused my rotations on bigger cities in the Midwest. I'm a Midwest boy. I knew that's where I was comfortable. And I think there's a lot of really good training in the Midwest. So I hit just Cincinnati, Indianapolis, Louisville, Milwaukee, Kansas City was kind of the ones I hit in several programs at each of those places. So like I said, I came here in June, and then serendipitously prior to that, I was at an APMA dinner at Des Moines, and it was right after Dr. DeHeer took over the directorship. And so I was like, oh my gosh, he's here. It was cool. And it was one of those things where I'd already been selected to rotate there as a clerk. And so getting to meet him, it just made it very exciting. So coming in, I kind of knew what to expect, and how he, his name and the kind of surgeon he is and all of those things, the educator that he is. So that was a huge draw for me to have someone like that that's very well known in the profession, that does very good work. So
and be a mentor of all of yours forever.
Exactly. And to echo kind of on Marc's advice is that when you start 4th year, you start rotating, you don't know what you don't know. So it's really hard. You might be at a program early on that you're like, I don't really know how I felt about that one. And then as the months go on, you might think, okay, that's not for me, or, oh, I really loved that place. It's like all of your experiences are a culmination of, your likes and dislikes. And you just figure it out along the way. You may not know what you love until the end of it. So
well said. Dustin, what was your path to Indianapolis?
Yeah, so my path is always kind of funny, and I always bring this up. I actually didn't think I was coming to St. Vincent, Indianapolis. I thought I was going up to South Bend when I was putting all my clerks together. And so I kind of set mine up, as a part of, I started in San Diego, and I went all the way as far east as Pittsburgh. And so I kind of made it to where I didn't have to bounce back and forth across the country like I've heard some students do. I knew that's not what I wanted to do. So I lined up, like Tyler said, kind of good programs that I had heard from word of mouth, that were good surgical training residencies. And then it helped, with Ascension too, even though I didn't think I was coming here. A lot of people from ASPOD had gone there and said it was a strong program. But I just remember I was in Chicago the month before, and I get this email like, hey, you're starting your clerkship in St. Vincent, Indianapolis. And I was like, oh, I'm going to Indianapolis. I thought I was going to South Bend. So I just was like, all right, well, got to go where you already have it, and let's let it go. And And so went there, clerked, and just absolutely, fell in love with it as far as everything that it had to offer, and all the residents and all the attendings and stuff like that. And kind of to reiterate what Tyler said earlier is that you don't know what you don't know until you go through all your clerks. And mine was in August. And so it was kind of winding down. I was kind of right in the middle of still having the energy for them and still excited about them, but also being able to have seen a couple and seen what I want. And so that helps me out tremendously. And I knew once I left, I was like, this is where I want to be. And, luckily ended up here.
Serendipity sounds like.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so the reason that Dr. Theis and I talked, and really we're chatting about your success as residents, the reason that I wanted to set up this podcast was to discuss your next step in your career. And Dr. Theis is so proud of all of you, and he was so excited about all of the opportunities that you have. I was wondering if we could spend some time talking about the job search, right? Now, when did you start? How did it go? Did it go as you expected? Did it take a bunch of turns? Did you do some U-turns? I mean, it's a process for sure. Dustin, you want to go first?
Sure. I mean, I can go first. I think, these two know that my kind of path was a little bit, stressful and a little bit, more having to kind of cast a wide net, so to speak. But so I kind of started out, I'm from Alaska, and I went to school in Idaho and then in Phoenix. And so a ton of my family and friends are back out in the West. And so I, told myself, my wife told me, that we're going back out West. And so I kind of narrowed it down. I really liked Phoenix. I really wanted to come back to Phoenix. That was like kind of my number one state. And I was searching and got a couple hits, got a contract, went through it, met with them, didn't like it, asked them to kind of change some things for, just contract things. And that kind of fizzled out. So kept searching, and I was reaching out to headhunters. I was reaching out to all these practices, just sending my CVs just to basically any job posting I could find. And that was going on all the way up through February. I had contacted somebody, one of my co-residents gave me a number, and I talked to him, and he was saying, this is for San Francisco, and I didn't want to be there. So I asked him if he had any other contacts, and he said Sacramento. Got in touch with them, was talking with them, but they didn't really have anything. I was also still looking, at a bunch of other places. And then kind of some things fell into place. They acquired a practice, and they needed someone to fill it. And, we had been talking so much that they were just like, we'd love to offer you this job. It's in the area you want to be. We think you do really well here, and I think you'd be a great fit. And so as I got that contract offer, I had another offer.
Wait 1 second. Dustin, is that you're referring to the group from Sacramento after you had been,
yes,
they came back.
Correct,
okay.
Sorry.
All right. That's okay.
Yep,
Go ahead.
Yep. And then at the same time, I had another contract offer from a practice in Boise. And so now I'm stuck with two great contracts. I'm stuck with two places that I'd love to be. And so I definitely had to take some time and kind of decide where I wanted to go. This Sacramento job is ironically where my wife is from. And so that kind of had a little bit of pull, but, so my gut was telling me that job. I feel really good about it. I think it's a great opportunity. And that's what I kind of will say to people listening when you're going through this process is listen to your gut. It's going to tell you kind of, where you think you should be. And then once you make that decision, you feel really good about it. And as I do, and I'm very excited and I can't wait.
That's fabulous. So what is the name of the practice or the group you're joining?
Yeah, it's Sacramento Foot and Ankle. They are a part of Balance Health out in California.
Yes, Dr. Raiselman is part of Balance Health out in San Francisco.
Exactly. Yep.
Well, congratulations to you. When you started telling me about the path you took from Alaska to Boise to Phoenix, you couldn't go any further south.
Yeah, right. I kept following the warm weather.
I guess so.
I didn't want any more winters.
Well, congratulations. Sacramento sounds like it is an outstanding place. I went to school in San Francisco, and we would go to Sacramento a lot. So congratulations, Dustin.
Thank you.
Tyler, what's your job search story, and when did you kick it off, and how did it play out?
So I kind of pigeonholed myself into a geographic area. So the whole agreement with my wife was when we're all done with this, we're going to go back home, which I was totally game for. So we're high school sweethearts, and all of our families in the same area. So Kansas City's home. So that was the end goal. So something I've been giving advice to students coming through or residents I talk to that are below us that really worked well for me is that I made it a goal every year as a resident to go back to the state meeting. And so that way I could just shake hands with anyone that was there. And that was the most fruitful job hunting, because a lot of things in our profession are word of mouth. You'll find out as you're a resident, it's just so-and-so's looking for someone, right? So I went back to the state meeting every year as a resident, and it was after it was during my second year. Just saw a guy, I've known him well. He works with the residency that I rotate through in Kansas City. And he was like, hey, one of our partners is leaving, I know you're from here. And it kind of fit the bill with everything I wanted. So I interviewed, I guess August of my third year, and signed shortly thereafter. It's a private practice group, a handful of offices, and they're kind of in suburban big city. So they get kind of everything I want to do, a nice mix of trauma reconstruction and then just routine podiatry stuff, and, take call. I'll be working with residents, which was a big goal of mine. That was something I always wanted to do. So I think using that as a resource. And another thing I'll say to students or those residents that are listening, that, reps can sometimes be some of the best valuable information in an area, because that was at the conferences, talking to people, it's like, who's busy, who needs help, and they know all the docs in the area. So that was something that was really beneficial to me. Is just, they're always willing to talk to you and picking their brains about who's busy, who's not. That was really helpful.
So the two nuggets that I came away with there, Tyler, is you're a planner and you're very strategic. I think that's a great idea. Go to the state meeting where you want to be, and the reps know everything, right? At the end of the day.
They do.
Congratulations. What a great opportunity. So your wife, so Dustin, you were back in Sacramento where your wife's from, and Tyler, you're back in Kansas City where your wife's from.
Yeah.
Life is good.
Happy wife, happy life.
That's right.
There you go. Life is good. Marc, share your story.
Yeah. So thank you guys. So I think it's funny. We all had such different paths to get to our jobs, and I think it's good to hear different stories. I'm going to Tallahassee, Florida. So going back home, my wife's from Brazil, so couldn't go that far south. So we got to Florida, which was good. So how it kind of worked out for me. So the practice I'm joining is Tallahassee Podiatry Associates in Florida. So for me, it was kind of a different path. When I was a first year, one of our third years, Josh Nichols, he was a great mentor to me, and I'd always tell him this, kind of took me under his wing the first year when I was there, really helped me when I was on call. Ironically enough, I was working with him on my call week when I was even on his call week when I was a student. So we kind of followed each other, kept in touch even through the interview process. So obviously we built, this bond over the year, and he really shared a lot of words of wisdom with me. So he kind of knew I really wanted to go back to Florida, and to Tyler's, advice, just reps, going to state meetings, but also keeping in touch with your classmates, because, you never know where your classmates are going to end up. And, strategically enough for me, Josh went back to Florida, and he was a great friend. So when I was in my second year, he kind of reached out to me and was like, hey, what are you thinking of doing when you leave, when it comes time? And I said, hey, I would love to go back to Florida, ideally. At that time, I was thinking South Florida, being from Miami. But he was like, hey, if you want to come down. And I went down for a weekend in the fall, went to an FSU football game. He kind of showed me around Tallahassee, showed me the city. I'm a Miami Hurricane, so it wasn't the best experience, but it was still fun. So we went to the game. We had a great time. Really gave me a good overview of the practice he had, what he had joined. It's a private practice. There'll be 5 of us now when I join. We work at 2 hospitals and 1 surgery center. We take call, as Tyler said. We don't have residents, but I think the general scope of practice that he was doing, and I got to see him and his numbers and how he grew over his 2 years when I was here, that really enticed me. So it was kind of an easy sell for me. I didn't really look elsewhere, right? It was a really great opportunity. The contract was great. The docs there are amazing. So it was pretty straightforward for me. So I think that would be my piece of advice is keep in touch with your co-residents. Life is busy, right? We all move on and we all, do get busy, but I think keeping contacts like these two guys I know I'll be in touch with is very important because you never know.
Well said. Well, congratulations to all three of you. That's just fantastic. It's a long haul, right, between school and residency, and it's great to see at the end of the day you're getting tremendous opportunities right out of the gate. So well done. So let's shift gears here a little bit. Let's talk about the residency program. There's a lot of students, obviously Arizona has a pipeline, right, to Dr. Theis's program. Ascension is talked about all the time, St. Vincent's in Indianapolis. So, and you too are part of the reason. You're both been there for 3 years. So let's talk about the program. How about if each of you take one of the years and kind of dissect it down in terms of the curriculum. And then when we're done with that, let's talk about what it's like to be a clerk there. But who would like to take the first year?
I can do the first year if you guys want.
Sure.
I was,
Sounds good, Mark.
I can see a little more. Tyler's chief. He should probably do third year.
Okay, sounds good.
Do second.
Representation. But no, first year is. I think the strength of this program is it really is an opportunity to get your feet wet from the jump. It's the year we take the most call. I believe it's a total of 9 weeks. Guys, correct me if I'm wrong. 9 weeks, I think, total, which is not a lot, but trust me, it's enough when you're on call at this hospital. So mainly it's spent taking call here or there. You will get some elective cases as it trickles down through the upper years. We do off-service rotations first year, so you'll get your internal medicine rotation out of the way. We do an anesthesia rotation. We do a wound care rotation. We do what am I missing, guys? ID, infectious disease. So kind of more of the general medicine rotations we get out of the way first year. But I think to sum it up primarily is kind of getting your surgical skills kind of honed in on doing the dirtier cases. But, those can be very valuable for someone as a first year. You're not kind of thrown into the fire. Learning the computer system, learning the hospital, learning how to deal with patients, learning how to deal with the patient list. So I think it's a good way to kind of just get your feet warm and get ready for the second year. So I think, Justin, if you want to.
Yeah, and just one thing to add to our first year that we've switched up to this year, and I think our first years have actually really loved, is we've switched from doing internal medicine month to an ortho hospitalist month. And so it's really kind of more in the perioperative management and follow-up, and our first years have really loved that rotation. And I think is another bonus of this program that we've added this year. So it seems to be going well. So I will kind of take over second year. So second year, you kind of get more into elective cases. We are very busy and have a ton of attendings that need coverage. And so second year, you're kind of out of the hospital more. You still take call. I believe we take 4 or 5 weeks as a second year. So you still have some areas where you have to cover call. But you really start to get, kind of more exposure into your elective forefoot cases. We do kind of keep our second years going to those cases and really start getting, a lot better, working forefoot and up. There's definitely times where, that you'll get, trauma, you'll get your rear foot cases, you get your kind of bigger level cases if the third years are either one's a PTO or on a interview or conference, or I think we have like a couple off services second or third year, but so second year is mainly doing a lot of forefoot elective stuff and still getting a lot of rear foot exposure. I think we also do vascular and gen surge rotations during second year, and then you guys chime in. I can't remember other ones we do. Do we do pathology? I think as well.
He's going away.
Is it psych, right? Yeah.
Psych, but so, and then geriatrics, I think. But second year is a really good year. It's where you really got to kind of feel like you're starting to get into electives. You start the attendings are also starting to trust you more, and you get a lot more kind of hands-on experience. And so that's kind of second year.
So a question I have off the top: how many facilities do you work at, and how many total attendings are in your program? I mean, Tyler, it's like a nice little segue.
So our count, we just did like a compiled list. I think it's 52 attendings is what we have in the Indianapolis area. And then as far as facilities, I don't know if I give you a count. So we're credentialed at all of the Indiana University health systems, except for the big teaching hospitals downtown, which we do a rotation there. Otherwise, we're at basically, there's another program here, Community Health Network. We're basically credentialed anywhere that's not community is the easy way to put it. So we cover a lot of ground. That's one thing about our program, which I think is not uncommon to a lot of residencies. We do a lot of driving, but it's, you're not really driving like an hour to do a case. You're going for like a full day of stuff. So the drives are usually worth your time. So dovetailing into third year, that's really where, we don't have a strict hierarchy here, which has always been nice. Whoever's on call, you have a gunshot wound that comes in, a third year is not going to hawk that from you, which that was a big benefit of this program. So whatever comes into the hospital when you're on call, it's yours, no matter what. Outside of that, the chief, so like this year I did all of our scheduling. So like Dustin points to, we try and, third years are getting rear foots and big fractures and things like that. But also the third years, at the beginning of the year, I kind of try to ask them, hey, who do you really love working with? What do you really want to tailor your practice to? And with that wide breadth of people we have to choose from, you can kind of pigeonhole those people into places that they really want to hone their skills on something certain, which is nice that we have such a wide variety to choose from. On top of that, our program has a lot of people that work here that didn't necessarily train here, which I think is really beneficial. There's certain programs I went to where everyone trained there, hired there, stayed there, and they all do the exact same stuff, which isn't bad, but I thought it was really nice to have a broader, width of skill sets to kind of choose from.
That's a great opportunity. So 12 residents, that's a lot of rotations, a lot of surgery, 52 attendings. That's great. What a wonderful opportunity for everybody involved with the program. Get my hats off to Dr. Theis. That's fabulous.
He works hard.
Absolutely. So let's talk about students applying for the clerkship. What can a student expect when they come to Ascension St. Vincent for a 4-week rotation? Dustin.
Marc, you're probably good for this one.
Or Marc, go ahead.
I would defer this to Marc. And then maybe me and Tyler can speak on our experience.
Yeah, I'll give this program credit. We are very organized, which is good. I was student coordinator, so I was able to take over the job for Jorge, who was the class above me. But it's kind of more of a set schedule in this program. So we divvy up the month into 4 weeks. 1 week, you're with the on-call resident. So you spend the week in the hospital seeing consults, covering any cases that come on call. So that's a good experience for the student. They get to see our on-call day-to-day. Pretty much they're with us the whole time, but as long as it's reasonable. We don't keep anyone till 1 a.m. if they don't need to be. We're nice at this program, which is good. We had a good culture and environment, very welcoming. So that's the first week. Then the second week, you do spend a week with Dr. Theis exclusively. So you go with him to clinic and you operate with him during the week. Gives you a chance to meet the director kind of show your knowledge. He's like we mentioned, he's a great mentor of ours and someone we'll keep in touch with for life. And he's great with students. He really helps them to learn. He actually gives a weekly lecture every Wednesday for every student the whole month. So, it's a great opportunity for students to learn. So that's that week. Then the third week is a surgery week. So we talked about 52 attendees. It's the week where some students are like, we drive too much. But like Tyler pointed out, we're just trying to give them an experience, right? Here to see, the different places we go and the attendings we work with. So as a student, it can be a little taxing, right? The gas money, driving, but it's kind of our chance to let them see what we do outside the hospital, because a lot of what we do is not at 86th Street, our main hospital. And then lastly, the last week you spend in our primary care center where our resident run clinic is. Spend the week there with Dr. Stewart and all of us residents. It's a great clinic for students to learn, where we let them do a lot of things hands-on. In this clinic, we're pretty kind of just kind of running the show. Dr. Stewart's there obviously to supervise, but he lets us really kind of run the show, make decisions. We even talk about billing. So it's another good opportunity for students to get their hands involved and just ask questions. So like I would sum it up, I don't know if you guys want to go off your clerkship month experiences, but this program really differed for me in the environment and the culture that's here, because we really are, willing to take the time to teach students. Well, we're not here to pimp you, to make you cry, to try to make you feel bad about yourself, which not saying every program does that, but there are, and really it's a good opportunity for students to ask questions and get better. So.
Well said. Anybody want to add to that, Dustin or Tyler?
No, I mean, just to, like Marc hit it on the head, to reiterate the kind of culture that, we have here. Students always leave and are always like, thank you so much for this month. I learned more than I've learned in a lot of other rotations because of Dr. DeHere. He's a great teacher. Us residents, we're here to teach you. We're not here to pimp you and then make you feel like you're not smart enough. It's to, kind of keep your excitement in podiatry going and then to make you feel that you're comfortable, at a residency. And because your stress level's on 10 when you're a student, like you got to be in a different state every month. You got to find housing. And so you're learning new hospitals every month. Like it's exhausting. And so just to be in a safe space, to me as a student, it felt really good. And I think that's, a lot to what contributed to me wanting to come here too.
There's a lot to be said for structure and orderliness and knowing where you're going to be and what to expect. So it does not surprise me in the least, knowing Dr. DeHere. Sounds like just a phenomenal experience for everybody. All right, let's lighten it up here a little bit. What are you looking forward to do after all these years of hard work and studying and being a resident? What's high on your priority list to have fun with when you get the opportunity starting next month? Tyler.
Marc and I are chomping at the bit. We've got these big houses just empty, waiting on us. We just
I know, right?
That's the carrot at the end of the stick is, never owned a home. We're found a beautiful house in Kansas City that we could be at for a very long time. So just very excited. That kind of makes it feel worth it when and my wife, she has a great job and we've been working hard to save up for a house, and we're going to be really close to lots of friends and family and, Kansas City sports and good food and all that stuff. So it feels like we can kind of start life. I've been saying all day that this feels like the last day of school in middle school, but it's like times a million. So that is how I feel.
So true.
I'm so excited.
Middle school.
Oh, good for you.
So true.
I'm from Wisconsin, so I'm used to having great quarterbacks, but we don't have a quarterback like you have, Tyler, in Kansas City. Not anymore. So that's fantastic. Well, congratulations on the new home, too.
Thank you.
Well done. That's just outstanding, and especially getting to go home. That's super. Marc, since we're on the home discussion. Tell us about Tallahassee. What are you looking forward to?
Tallahassee, I would say the FSU games, but being a Miami fan, it'll be a little tough, but these guys get on me. I do have some Seminole gear now, so I have given up a little bit in that sense. But hey, I'll wear it if they're not playing Miami. That's the rule.
Fair.
So
that's
we're
good. Good plan.
But no, I think to echo off Tyler, just getting a home. Me and my wife are expecting a baby, which is amazing as well. Just moving in, right? Never had a home. I've never thought I'd spend so much time in TJ Maxx, but it's been an experience, and we're excited to get everything going.
Congratulations. You might want to add IKEA to your list, put it in your phone.
Oh, IKEA too, yeah.
Absolutely. Well done, and congratulations. Dustin, what are you looking forward to come July?
So I'm just looking forward to be back, close to friends and family, and just, having the ability to get out on the weekend and see them and just be in a better time zone sports wise. I mean, this Eastern time zone is killing me, growing up in Alaska and then being on the West Coast. But, unfortunately I signed my contract a little later than these two. So I don't have a house. I get to happily move in with my in-laws for a month or two while I'm looking. So that'll be fun. But, I like I said, once I, get a house and we have a place to start and kind of stop this, school to residency to, we're actually, okay, we're going to be here for a second. We can put down some roots. We can get a little bit comfortable and know that we're not going to move, across the country in the 3 years or something like that. So I'm looking forward to kind of, just like I said, these two have said, like getting settled, having a place of your own and just kind of starting your career and kind of starting your life.
Oh, well done. Talk about spreading out. You're all in Indianapolis, and then you're going to span the country from Florida to Missouri all the way out to California. So that's just fabulous. All right, one more light-ended question. So when I was a resident years ago at Kern Hospital, we had 12 residents, 6 each year, and we had lots of great stories that were not podiatric medicine related. So I was going to ask you if you have any good stories that are like PG rated at most, right?
First one came to mind was not PG rated, so I'll have to think about that.
Yeah, same.
Well, G's okay, because Mark's gonna have a baby pretty soon, so we can, it's got to be G rated.
Yeah, let me think.
Well, here's a PG one that I can bring up is right after I think it was last weekend. Me, Mark, and Tyler were all out, and we shared a karaoke song together. So that was a good time.
Well, what song was it?
Graduation by Vitamins. Yeah. Don't look it up. You're going to be disappointed.
Yeah, we could have picked a better song, but we kind of fell into that one.
You didn't tape it, did you?
Guys,
I'm sure there's a video out there, but that's not a.
The lake days at Dahir. That's another draw to this staple. Dahir takes us to his lake every summer for a day, and
very true.
Those are always so much fun. We've been blessed to have good weather every year, and so we get out on the boat. We get to tubing. He always has amazing food. It's just a good kind of residency day, and I always look forward to it because it's just. I love being on a lake. I grew up having a cabin and being on the water, and these two both could agree to that. That's a fun day to look forward to.
Yeah, I've seen some Facebook posts of Dr. Dahir on it. It's big pontoon boat, right? Cruising the lake. That sounds like a lot of fun. That's great. All right. Well, we're coming to an end at this point. I wanted to ask you each just one more serious question. What advice would you have to any prospective students going into podiatric medicine about the profession? Dustin, feel free.
Sure. My thing is to, look into podiatric medicine if you're really passionate about helping people, doing surgery, having a wide, array of things that you can have in your toolbox to help people. And I think we touched on it earlier that knowing what you're going into is very comforting, and not taking that risk of getting into a career that you may not have wanted, but that's how the chips fell, and that's kind of where it went. And so just look into it, give it a shot. Really spend your time in doing your homework and looking into it, because I'm so happy that I chose this path. I would do it again, and so I'm glad that it kind of came into my world, and I kind of pursued it.
Thank you, Mark.
I would kind of echo off of that, and I think, like we mentioned, I think there's proof out there that we mentioned every mentor we go to shadow before you get into it just really does enjoy their life and quality of life. I think quality of life is a big thing, right? Having time for your family, and having that work-life balance, and obviously you can push yourself too. I think we don't stress that enough. In this profession, you can do big things, and you can be really busy, including trauma, taking a lot of call, having the opportunity to work with residents, in a big academic institution. I would say it's tough because I think we do have a stigma about our profession. I think it's slowly dying, but I think we do a lot for patients, and our scope of practice does cover pretty much everything for the foot and ankle, and it gives us opportunity to really make a difference in patients' lives. And you'll see that even as a resident, we all can attest to it. Really, you have a patient come in, and even if it's something as simple, just doing some sort of injection, a plantar fascial injection, they literally leave like you're a savior. So having those moments makes it worth it, and I would definitely give this a shot for sure.
Well said, Tyler.
I want to build upon what Mark said a little bit, but I think people can get down on podiatry a little bit in certain aspects of it, but I want to remind people that we're still very young in our advent of training. Other medicine or surgical specialties have had 5-6 year training forever. Like with the 3-year thing's been mandatory since early 2000. So in the grand scheme of medicine, what we are building towards is young. And I think the future is nothing but bright. And like Mark said, with this job, you can make as much, or no, I don't want to say as little of it, but you can really tailor it to what you want. If you want to be a very present family person, you can do that. You can really build your schedule to what you want. If you want to go get it and be on call and work crazy hours and make a ton of money, you can do that too. But you can find a really good work-life balance, which was a huge draw for me. So that's what I'm most excited about, is like we were saying, what's next in July. I'm excited to put everything that I've learned into action and kind of make it my own, and you can run things how you want now. So that's what I'm most excited for, and kind of see where the road leads,
Well done. I speak for anybody who's interacted with you and people that trained you, and wishing you the best of luck going forward. And I certainly look forward to following your careers. Dustin and Marc, coming from Arizona, don't be strangers, of course. And Tyler, I look forward to following your career also. So congratulations to all three of you.
Thank you.
So to our listeners out there, I want to thank you again for joining us with Dean's Chat, where we talk about all things podiatric medicine. One of my goals is to bring future leaders in the profession to this show, and I think we definitely attained that today. And guys, I'm going to be sending you this little Dean's Chat cup. So when you break into your new offices and you're there early in the morning, you'll have some fond memories about the end of your residency program.
Awesome.
All right, everybody.
Yeah, we'll
Bye-bye.
get you our new addresses. Don't send it here.
Oh yeah, I won't send it till you send. Yeah, just email them to me. Well said, because I do have your CVs here with your addresses, but I won't send them there. So, anyways, if you're listening and you're watching on YouTube, please be a subscriber. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please give us a 5-star rating. So until next week, everyone. Cheers.